Jungkook took off his wristwatch, placing it on his desk, then proceeded to pour water in a glass and took out a painkiller. He then walked to his girlfriend, who was sitting on his huge office table, taking absolutely no space. She took the pill along with water. Jungkook stood in between her legs, and so she rested her head on his chest. Jungkook, you should have stayed home. You need rest. Ryan, I couldn't sleep, and I wanted to stay with you. Jungkook quietly brushed fingers through the locks of her hair. She had a strong headache, and she was tired after a long day at college. He held her up in his arms and walked over to the couch, placing her down. He took a seat beside her, and so she rested her head on his thigh. Jungkook, try to sleep. Ryan, sing me a song. He did, without any complaint and without any hesitation. Sung her favorite song, Still With You, as the heavenly melody and his beautiful vocals helped her relax too much. Jungkook was a man with strict principles. He was a mafia who inherited everything after his ancestors, but it doesn't necessarily mean he was granted with everything on a golden plate. Everything he owned today was the result of his own hard work. The time of his ancestors, they stood at the same level as many other feared empires in the underground world. The competition was too strong, nearly impossible, for one of them to break free from the rank and move higher. Only Jungkook was able to make it possible, standing at a point untouchable. The world feared him. Even the greatest of men shivered at his name. His eyes shifted towards the wall clock, noticing the time left for his meeting. 10 minutes. Reaching at this point required him to lose most of the emotions a normal human contained within themselves. But he was ready to give it all to the girl sleeping on his lap, to laugh at her jokes and silly things, to fulfill her every little wish, and do any stupid thing for her. He looked down at her and found her sleeping. He stopped singing and kissed her head once. The assistant knocked at his door before he allowed him to enter. Jungkook placed his coat over Vian, covering her. David came in, and when he found his boss's girlfriend sleeping in his lap, his eyes shifted towards the floor. He knew his boss well, who was extremely possessive about his girlfriend. David, it's time for your meeting, sir. Jungkook, call Mr. Zack here. David was a trained man, and still he couldn't hide the absolute surprise on his face. Yet, it took him only a second to return to his stoic face as he walked out of the room with a yes, sir. Soon enough, Zack entered Jungkook's office, who worked in finance division along with his personal secretary and his subordinate. None of them made a question about the sleeping girl. Jungkook had placed noise cancelling earpods in her ear to make sure she won't be disturbed. During the meeting, she shifted in her seat, turned towards Jungkook, and hugged his torso. Zack, who was speaking, tried his best not to be distracted by the little movement and continued his presentation. To say they were genuinely surprised by their boss's behavior would be an understandable emotion. She moved again, and Jungkook raised his hand, silencing everyone. He didn't want her to wake up to another headache. Even if she had the noise cancellation device in her ear, he wondered if the technology was failing to do its work. He moved the coat higher, covering her eyes as well from the light, and allowed her to hold his hand against her chest in her sleep. When he was assured that she was peaceful again, he allowed the meeting to continue. The rest of the time, she slept comfortably. Once the meeting was over and everyone left, he asked his assistant to turn off the lights before leaving. His work was on laptop anyways. Vine slept for almost 2.5 hours, and Jungkook stayed in that position for the meantime. When she woke up, he placed the laptop aside. She stretched her arms and sat up. The room was dark, yet the city lights from the glass window provided such aesthetic to it. Vine. Wow, this is so beautiful. She seemed fresh and got on the couch, rushing off towards the glass wall, looking at the view outside with sparkly eyes. Jungkook took his moment to move his thigh around, which was practically numb due to staying at one place for this long. Jungkook, is that really? Ryan, it is. That's so unfair. You never told me that's how your office looks like in the evening. She felt his presence beside her and his eyes on her. Jungkook, do you want us to shift to a place where you can have this view daily? Ryan, you made it sound easier than shifting a room in the same home. Jungkook, anything you want, just say it. I'll handle the rest. She wondered if she should have kept sleeping because dying of a melted heart didn't seem like a good idea right now. His eyes stared at her like the world would crumble and he wouldn't even blink. Wine. I like this view a lot, but I like our home too. Too many memories. I don't ever want to leave that place. Wine. So, I might just come and disturb you often, since I found my second love. Jungkook. Not allowed. She raised her brow, expressions turned serious, and she grabbed his thigh, pulling him down to her level. Vian, why, darling? Are you hiding something in here? Jungkook, let me guess. Maybe an affair? Vian smirked, her eyes dark, and her hand sensually placed against the nape of his neck. Vian, oh, Mr. John, you dare not do that. You haven't seen my dark side yet. She placed a kiss against her neck and then sucked the exact same spot, making him hers. Jungkook wrapped his arms around her waist and pulled her flush against him. She marked several more spots on his neck, making sure they were uncovered. Everyone was supposed to know who he belonged to. He held her chin and kissed her, which she returned. He might be with her in her every silly and lively move, but this was his real side, dominant, rough, yet filled with love. Jungkook, I love you.